And welcome back to my live stream. Today we're continuing with Errant Kingdom. We're doing the Ambassador Route Chapter 5. So at this point there's just 3 chapters left to do. Chapter 5 for Ambassador, Knight, and Nomad. In the last chapter we had an audience with Telemios, the god of justice, I want to say. And basically had to pick someone to return to escape the wrath of Novus. And the person the ambassador picked was Rue. So we're going to continue there with the morning after, basically, as soon as we get there. That we have Rahim. There we go. I don't dream of home. I dream of an old city glimmering like a reflection on turbulent waters. It dissolves in a cloud of ashes and fire. Rebels and soldiers flooding the streets, their blades drawn. Their thundering feet stir up dust and dried blood, and the gods weep. Not foreboding at all. Then I dream of a frail scribe, his white hair floor-length, his face concealed by a tattered veil of purple, sitting by a cracked hearth. All around him lay broken tools of writing, torn and burnt books, and the universe leans close over his bowed head, whispering, "I'm sorry, it will never come to pass again." And then I'm awake. No, wait, I'm not. Hang on. I'm getting like no trouble. That would explain why. No, I don't want to move that one. I want to move this one. There we go. I've broken into a different dream. This must be the forest. Some of it's familiar, but only in that hazy, nostalgic sense. And it's much less of a vision and more of a realm, almost. I look up at the slightly distorted but cheery branches, feel the warmth of summer on my face. Yes, this is a phase dream. A specific one, I would guess. Sure enough. Hey! Over here! From a tree close by that magnetically, magically, dreamologically attracts my attention, and it's beaming down at me. I think that, well, not the gods, they didn't do anything. Thank Mother Spring, you made it. Was I invited? I didn't even know you called for me. You didn't? That was the thing. We will have tossed the branch, the footsteps light as a breeze. Reflexively, I reach out to them as they approach, only to think better of it. What if they disappear? But they take my hand and move solid and real, as if they're there in the flesh. Well, maybe they are, but we're all both dreaming. It's so real in the context of this dream. I don't care for those specifics right now. I pull them into a hug instead, as tight as I dare. You're surprisingly strong. Ouch! Ribs. Hastily I let go of them. You have bones in a dream? Wait, you don't have bones in real life anyway. Yes, but I'm pretending very hard. Method acting. If I don't believe I have bones, then how can I act as though I do? Maybe that's why I'm more bony in this place, since it's in our wonderful minds and not as bound by physical laws. This sounds like the final step off a cliff into spiraling abyss, so maybe I should refrain from pursuing it. Instead, I take Rue's hand and pull them down to sit in the grass with me. They go with a giggle and a kiss to my cheek, wet and fluffy and so affectionate I could feel their emotion almost like a physical force. I don't mind this. I don't think the question here really matters, so we're going to let the dice choose first. Roll the dice. Roll the dice. Okay, I got a D4 here. So odd number, we pick the top one. Even number, we pick the bottom one. That's a 1, so we're picking the first one. Have you been waiting long for me? A few hours, but in all fairness, I wasn't sure if it would work. You felt very deeply. I dreamed of very old things. I couldn't reach you. You did say you didn't hear me? No, I didn't. But I'm here anyway, which means I must have heard them, if not with my mind or my ears, or perhaps with something deeper. The thought warms me, a soul's resonance. What are you smiling about? It's very sappy. Tell me. I tell them. Oh, that is sappy. But I'm a tree spirit. I love sappy. Now that's corny. Bruce grin is wicked, their eyes gleaming. They open their mouths. I have to interrupt them before they can make a corn joke. This oak. Yes, it's mine. Sometimes lovers come by and carve their names on it, despite knowing it's a fay tree. Maybe cute. You're generous. Most fairies wouldn't have cursed them or stolen something important as recompense. Yeah, I've seen a few. I look at them fondly. I've always liked fools, beyond the fact that they're light-hearted and thoughtful, especially among the fays whose idea of laws and gifts isn't always altruism-driven. But for them, it's always been something more. Perhaps I see it now in this hazy dream. The crease in his brow betrays distress at the mention of other faiths' mischief, their concern for Eric and for Radis, their fondness for me. I wonder, before you bore that name, Never mind. It's a beautiful tree. Shall I bring you a gift of some sort for the next time I'm here? In person? I can see the glimmer of trinkets in the branches, sparkling like diamonds. Maybe a lot more bling than usual, considering this is a dream and everything is slightly surreal, but... Would you? I'd love a memento. Whenever you get away from that mess in the palace, anyway. Right. The thing waiting for me in the waking world. I can't get a headache here, but I'm incredibly tempted to start massaging my temples. Have you ever dealt with the gods, Rue? Not in person. I didn't understand the concept of deals. Not like we do. Yeah, I remember that distinctly. Rue worries her lip for a moment, then reaches out and takes my hand. Promise me you'll be careful. I know you're clever, but that alone never seems enough in these stories. Caution isn't enough either, not by itself. But I haven't come here to lose, especially not after telling you how I feel. Can you believe that? Rue takes a deep breath, but nods. I lean in and kiss him on the cheek, and I stay for as long as I can before wakefulness eventually pulls me away. The moment I step out of my room, a familiar woman appears right at my elbow. I thought you said you would be watching me from now on. This doesn't seem to be as innocuous as watching. Oh, cut it out. Glances around the hall, then takes my elbow. Unceremoniously, with incredible inhuman strength, considering her slight frame, she drags me into an adjacent corridor. I'm starting to get worried about what she might do to me when she whirls around. What happened last night? I got lost in the woods? This seems to be the most diplomatic answer. And miraculously found my way back into the castle after curfew. What is a little gallivanting to you? Nobility must do it all the same. All the time. Eleanor crosses her arms and purses her lips, giving me a narrow-eyed once-over. I endure her scrutiny because there's nothing else I can do. So after a few seconds, it becomes almost uncomfortable. So you seem to have a different impression about what happened to me yesterday night, so pray tell me what it is you thought happened. I wouldn't have known anything happened if your servants, the ones you brought over from Vithris, weren't all gossiping among themselves this morning. Oh, I've forgotten that they might realize something is wrong. Eleanor is giving me a sharp look now. Nobility certainly forget the people who dedicate their lives to serving them all the time, too. Not to mention that night of yours, Cedric, he was in the mood the whole night, pacing the halls. I grimaced at the reminder. I need to tell him, too, followed by a lengthy apology. Then I look at Eleanor again, at her simmering anger and the tension she's holding herself in. Truthfully, I don't get why exactly she's angry, not from what she told me, unless... I'll explain to the others what happened, or as much as I myself understood what happened anyway. It's complicated. Eleanor frowns, but after a moment she inclines her head. I watch her carefully as her expression relaxes and she leans away from me. Did I make someone you fancied worry? I don't fancy anyone, Ambassador, but I don't like it when someone goes frolicking about without telling their people and makes them worry. Funny you said that. You haven't seen rude lately either, have you? It's not exactly the right thing to say, but it does what I want it to, get a reaction. Eleanor's eyes widen her fracture before her expression darkens, her jaw sets. That's because I don't know if I get to see them again or not. I said some things to them out of anger when we parted. I don't think I deserve to go back after that. That's honestly shocking information to hear. Try to think about what Rue has said about Eleanor. They didn't even mention they were ever angry with her. I don't think that they think that way, Lady Eleanor. If anything, I don't think they understand why you haven't come back. Will you not try to talk to them again? Eleanor's eyes narrowed suspiciously. See, you have been talking at length with my sibling. Clear my throat. Try not to sound too nervous. It's ridiculous. I feel nervous anyway. Mine are risk businesses and none of hers. Something like that. Humph. Eleanor fiddles with the sleeve of her dress for a moment, and at this moment I've never felt such suffocating awkwardness. Afterward, however, she looks up at me. Shockingly enough, her expression has softened some. I'm glad. I never thought they could bear another's company again. Well, you're not so much this heroic type, so let's hope you're smarter than she was. For your own good, do you hear? I don't think it matters which one, so we're going to let the dice decide again. Odd number first, second number bottom. Odd number again, this time a 3. I can't help but snort in surprise. You would make a tough sister-in-law. Do not insult me with even the notion of it, Outlander. But Eleanor grins, showing that hint of sharp teeth, so I know that the thought at least amuses her. I bow mockingly, and she huffs and waves me away. All in good fun. For now. So what's this about you ambushing me outside my quarters and lecturing me about how I should treat my household? Eleanor pouts, but I spread my hands innocently. You talkers, you're always the best and worst of mortals. Anyway, you should know that your company's in demand this morning. The royal mage will send for you any moment now, and you best not let her catch you unaware. Lady Masha? So she made it back to the castle safely after all. Yes, everyone involved with you seems to have done so except for you yourself. She looked to be in a hurry, too, and I saw her with this device that she usually pulled out to look at when someone had been god-touched in the vicinity. Eleanor frowned, rubbing her arms. What a queer thing it is, the whole affair, gods and magicians peering into one another's business like that. I'm sure she's going to try and rope you into some political scheme. Are you listening? I'm not really. My insides have grown cold. So Maja might have known something was up. Yes, of course. Device that can detect whenever someone is touched by the gods? Is this possible? We don't even know who's picked by who among the fairy lords and Vistris. It's none of anyone's business, after all, like Eleanor said. I've seen it work, so it's possible. Unless the mage is touched by a god herself, I think her having some tricksy device is a less frightening thought, though. You might as well go and see her. I don't know what you have done, but it would be terrible if the crown found something else suspicious about you and banish you like they did your predecessor. You'll find the mage in her atrium, past the front hall, up 2 flights of stairs, west tower. Thank you. Eleanor nods, her eyes still on me. Then sighing loudly as though she hasn't found what she came here for, she curtsies and vanishes in a world of emerald fabric and bright auburn hair. I wait until she's gone before turning around. And there's Cedric. She managed to give you directions and absolutely nothing else? Cedric? He shakes his head, stopping me cold. Cedric closes the distance between us with 2 steps and takes my hand. Does so gently enough that I can pull away if I want to. I don't. Mutely, he stares at it. And then, a moment later, the mark of Telenio splashes on my skin. Face. Does it hurt? Thankfully, no. If you wish to leave, we can do it. I don't care how. I can get you out of here. At this one, definitely that response. I shake my head in frustration and withdraw my hand. I know why Cedric is saying this, but still. I'm the ambassador of Vithris, Cedric. Even if I can run, and I cannot, I won't abandon my duty. Nor is it my duty to Vithris, the only one I have now. What do you mean? What did that god tell you? Let's go see Maja. I'll fill you in on the way. Looks decidedly unhappy, but nods. Cedric's eyes are boring holes into the back of my skull when I step into the room designated as Maja's atrium. Isn't this gorgeous? Just beautiful. Ugh. Can I just set up camp in that room, please? I feel bad, but at the same time I'm relieved when the door is shut at my back. A little reprieve from his complicated and many-layered emotions of disapproval. Straightening and clearing my throat, I look around. This is a nice room. I can imagine it being the dream destination of any Mage Academy's field trip. And Marcia herself, still wearing the outfit from the little trip to town. 2 chapters ago, for the record. Marcia winks from across the room. A book floats in her hand, cradled in the tendrils of blue magic. Sorry for the mess. I wasn't expecting you this early. But you were expecting me? Marcia gives me a considering look. Actually, is everything all right? No use beating around the bush anymore, is there? Actually, something happened last night. Something quite drastic, in fact, and I might need your help. So you probably know that already, I think to myself. Sure enough, Marcia shoves the book in her hand and puts it aside. She approaches me and holds out her hand. May I? I show her my own. In the back of my mind, I wonder what would happen if Teleneo's sigil doesn't show up and I look like a fool. As soon as the thought occurs to me, though, it flares to life, and this time it's safe. Marcia looks at it for a moment, her expression completely devoid of surprise. Did you somehow find out? Yes. Don't tell the priests or they will get jealous. They think knowing the will of their gods is a privilege exclusive to true worshippers. I won't say that I know the will of the gods either. Whatever reason Teleneos has in throwing you into this mess, it's his alone. What I'm more worried about is how the court might take this, to be honest. Loath as I am to say so, nobility and commoners alike have long taken the gods' exclusive recognition of people born within our kingdom as a mark of pride. And here I am, the dignitary from the farmers and Phalanx neighbor, with the god of law's shining aegis on my hand. Right, god of laws. Marcia nods. The scandal it would cause. Not that any of them can do anything about it. That won't stop their mouths from running. It would cause trouble for their majesties as well if it's known. Following so soon on the heels of an attempted assassination where the culprit wasn't found. Marcia nods grimly. She seems uneasy. Not that I blame her. I myself don't know how to navigate this situation. I don't know Errantus or its obsession with its gods well enough to gauge a reaction aside from probably not good for me or anyone involved. What I fear more is whatever blame they might heap on me. That by bearing this mark, I'm only here to sow chaos. It might be true, considering what Teleneos wants me to do. Wait, this might be a stupid question, Marcia. I've heard tales of the gods' direct involvement in Novus's ruling. Is that true? I suppose it has its merits. The clerics, for example, those similarly chosen. No, not those. Marcia gives me a curious look at my quick refusal, and I hope dearly that I haven't made a misstep. If the royal court will lose its mind over this, can you imagine the religious body's reaction? As a matter of fact, I can. Her expression tells me exactly how undesirable that will be. I was thinking more of perhaps an avatar. In Vithris's court, the Fae Court's most powerful, elusive patrons who never leave that realm still sometimes masquerade as someone unimportant and attend social functions. Do you think there's such a possibility with Teleneos? As a matter of fact, yes, there have been such stories. Even the clerics are swift to dismiss them, however. Of course they are. But if that's true, then it's mortifying. Some of the things we've said and done among ourselves when trying to design new policies and rulings. Do you want to actually ask Teleneos himself? I've spoken to him once, haven't I? I would much rather meet him on my own terms this time. Never heard a more daring plan. She laughed, sounding incredulous. Before I could start feeling embarrassed, however, there's a gleam in Marja's eyes I've never seen before. I might even call it mischievous excitement. Goodness, I've never had this challenge before. I smile at her and try not to comment on how she doesn't seem the least bit phased on the how of it. So, what will you do if, or once, we find him exactly? I'm not going to pick that first one, but let's suppose pick one of the other two. So, odd number middle, even number bottom. 3 again, so middle. I'm gonna roll it again just to see if I get something different. Oh, that time I got even. But we're still gonna go with the middle one, because that's what came out first. Ask him what the hell he was thinking. Maja bites her lips, clearly holding back a grin. That gives me some confidence. But saying more would have been crude, so I instead examined my hand. The symbol remains there, glowing a pearlescent hue like it's taunting me. It's tempting to rub at it, but I don't. I know it's not going to wash off like some ink stain. At least I hope he has a plan, besides the vague, grandiose premise he regaled me with. Only a foreigner would have the audacity to demand answers directly from the gods. I appreciate your boldness, Ambassador. It's refreshing. I bowed, just a tad mockingly. I think I'd best make myself scarce for a little while. I try not to think about the amount of paper and correspondence still wallowing on my desk. That's probably a good idea. I don't need to tell you the amount of work that might go into this. I can imagine it. There's one more thing you should know. You aren't the only one mysteriously chosen. This is just a normal occurrence, as much as such an event can be normal. But from what you told me, I suspect it might be more than that. If these individuals are similarly not Errant-born, then we have a very concerning pattern. My heart seizes. More players mean the board is more difficult to control, and a higher chance of everything going wrong. I can almost see the same thoughts flashing through Maja's eyes, though she's quick to smile. But I shouldn't worry prematurely. It could just be a coincidence, as you say. Spoilers, it's not a coincidence. And if it's not, then this will be the first time I've read Divine Providence this much. I'll keep you informed. The brilliant mind is already turning away from me, I can tell. Towards her books and the devices laid in one corner. They're worth priceless and unknown to me. Reluctantly, I incline my head. I'll have to trust her. But there are infinitely worse alternatives. This is true. So that begs the question of where exactly I should go. Cedric is gone by the time I leave Majo's atrium, which I'm not surprised or upset with. He knows I like my space, and him just being out of sight hardly means he's not keeping an eye on me. And I welcome the solitude, allowing myself to think. Even though the simple act of thinking feels dangerous in these halls now. It's a shame. Novus's castle has never been warm to me, despite all the comfort I've provided. I have hoped that I would eventually find some peace in its tall ceiling, ornate halls. It's going to be here indefinitely, after all. But now, even that certainly doesn't seem set in stone. Wait. I pause at a window overlooking the garden. Are my eyes playing tricks, or is that... No, he wouldn't have dared. The urge to leap out into the garden right then and there is almost overwhelming. Instead, I make a run for it, or as much of a casual try as possible. Maybe I am seeing things. Maybe I really didn't get enough sleep. I suppose she at least decided to enter through the very back of the garden. If it wasn't for a stroke of luck, I wouldn't have seen him at all. So, you did see that. Raiden is grinning when I reach him and pulling the hood back over his head. Aren't you supposed to not get caught? Caught? Oh, ho, ho, don't flatter yourself, your fanciness. There's a difference between caught and seen, and I allowed you to see me. He softens his attitude with a wink and friendly smile. So now I'm inclined to start smacking him at this instant. Still, it's a close thing. Suppose I appreciate your subtle approach rather than throwing a rock at me. Of course not. That's amateur stuff. So, now that you got me alone and within stabbing range, what will you do to me? Say hi. Also, I just want to make sure you're okay, since Rue's really worried. Sort of. I also giggled inside dreamily when they sent me out. Weird. He eyes me like he wants confirmation, a request I ignore. None of his business, if Rue hasn't told him. Yeah, gee, I wonder why Rue is all giggly and dreamy-eyed. I'm fine. Tell them I'm sorry. Things yesterday night were beyond my control. Will do. Have you seen that knight of yours? Cedric? No, the other one. The one who came with you to this kingdom as a gift to these knights. Oh, the representative. No, I haven't. Why? Raiden chews on his lips for a moment, clearly thinking. Annoyingly enough, he doesn't answer my question, but instead takes a step back. reason. Anyway, thanks for coming by, your most eminent. I grab Forehand's arm and he dances back, and right then I'm tempted to truly start chasing him down. But I will never be as fast. Luckily, he can still listen. Hey, when you see Rue, tell him something for me. That does make Raiden stop, long enough for me to tell him about Eleanor, but I honestly don't know if I should. Raiden, no, nah, what an issue. Didn't take them for the sibling type. They never told you? First rule of my trade, never ask too many questions. I mean, makes sense. You start to ask questions and you get screwed. But they aren't your colleague, are they? They're your friend. Yeah, they are. I'll let them know. Thanks for caring about Rue. I mean it. Leans forward as though he's about to kiss me, then clasps my shoulder and vanishes. Only later that I realize he's nicked an ornament from my waist. Typical Raiden. Yeah, if you romance him as an ambassador, you let him take an ornament. I do not, in fact, go anywhere. Nowhere else affords me the privacy and space like my own quarters, after all. So once Raiden has gone away from me with the damn trophy, I'm back in my room again. Still, as an act of rebellion, I ignore the paperwork to pen a letter home instead. But what to put here? Who back home would hear the truth and not either send an entire cavalry to free me from my host's turned-up pressures by proxy, or gossip about it to the entire court until our king himself starts asking Novus's monarch awkward questions? The answer is no one. None I can think of anyway, and so I write the letter and leave the recipient's name blank. Maybe a walk is in order. Well, and if you romance Eric or Maja, Eric is one you see in the garden. I don't know where my legs have carried me until I hear muffled voices, then the shutting of a door. Just managed to glimpse familiar red cape disappearing into a room. Livia? Morbid curiosity wins over self-preservation. I drift closer, wondering if I can hear more of whatever she's saying. No good. The double doors are thick and almost soundproof. But one of them does open as soon as I press a hand to it. Oops. And what do you think you are? Just inviting a friendly eavesdropper in is all, Knight Commander. I see a flash of teeth and silver eyes, and know that I'm not only caught, but trapped. Isn't that right, Ambassador? Please, come in. No running now. Lucian shuts the door behind me as soon as I'm inside, and I try not to feel like a cornered animal. This is the war room. I recognize it by the large table in the middle and the way Livia stands there, scowling, but also seeming quite at home, and she's glowering. Not at me, at Lucian. Instinctively, I step away from them just in case her glare might actually spark a fire or something. Maybe I should say something before Livia decides to do whatever she's thinking of doing. Surely she won't draw her weapon, but still. We're going to go with this first one. What's going on here? Oh, nothing at all. I was having too much fun aggravating Commander Livia, that's all. Livia bares her teeth, but after an alarming moment, she sighs harshly. It's as they say. I let my temper get away from me. I wish you would do it more often. Having as much pent-up stress as you do, you never know how you manage it. I give them a flabbergasted look. How much oil will they pour into this fire? But Lucian only winks at me. With a good hand gently ghosting over my back, they step forward and raise the other placatingly. Yeah, if you romance Livia, Lucian makes a comment about that. Livia watches them like a hound, deciding whether or not it'll bite, but after a moment, she looks away. Lucian lowers her hand. You really could have just left me out there, Ambassador. And maybe to be accused of snooping by any of the dozen unimportant you-gods of gossip strolling this castle? I want to ask them who would dare, but I know the answer to that already. Anyone. Everyone. They'll court my favor as doggedly as they will mock my name among themselves. Livia sighs again. Unfortunately, Lucian is correct, and the pressure's only gotten worse since our victory in the night won that mock tournament. The castle is uneasy. First the assassination attempt without a clear, unpunished culprit, and then being shown up by someone from a land that they felt their pride and sense of self around thinking is luster and prowess. Their foundation is weak, that's why they're shaken so easily. But saying this truth doesn't change the fact that they're simmering. Yet it was me who lashed out. My apologies, Lucian. No, there's nothing to forgive. It was me who should have been more careful with my words. Ah. No one in that room would believe a demon wouldn't weigh their words to the final syllable. Olivia accepts Lucian's sentiments with a curt nod. She glances next at the war table and the messy array of paper, charts, and maps there. I will send an aide to get these later. Good night, Lucian, Ambassador Kadir. With a crisp salute, she departs the room like a whirlwind. So if you romance Olivia, Lucian's the one who leaves at this point. But you do get the nice little moment with Lucian if you romance them. I wait until the door's shut and 5 seconds have passed before turning to Lucian, who is now leaning on the war table and pouring themselves a glass of wine. Had the bottle or the glass even been there a moment ago, I would not put it past Lucian to be able to conjure wine and a glass out of thin air. How is it that you're Lucian to her, yet I'm still Ambassador Kadir? Don't you know? I'm her best friend. Lucian's grin could turn a pacifist into a murderer. It's good to see you again. Feels like it's been forever since we had a chance to truly talk in private. It has been. Say, Lucian, I hear stories about Novus' gods sometimes visiting the mortal world through avatars. Are there any merits to them? Of course. In fact, if you can believe some rumors, the god Selenios is always present in the king and queen's court somewhere. It stays a rumor because the aristocracy isn't comfortable thinking that they can't get away with their boorish behavior on account of having a god among them. But the gauntleted fist pounds on the door. And here comes a priest to chastise me for revealing too many secrets. Winking, Lucian sets her glass of wine down to go see who it is. I don't recognize the voice outside and can't hear the conversation, but since Lucian doesn't bother moving away from the door, it surely can't be that important. Idly, I go to the war table. Most of them seem to be sentry reports and maps of the castle, but for once, these are of no worth to me. Then my eye catches on a letter almost buried under all the paper, because it bears the same sigil as the one on my hand. Rahim? Yes, I'm sorry. I immediately don't like the look on their face. What's wrong? Lucian hands me a pit-black envelope, the seal made of glittering golden wax. My heart plunges all the way into my shoes. The royal summons. I snatch it from them and flip it open. Beautiful handwriting, the usual formal greetings, the day and time. Now? Surely not. I normally give them the letter. They read it. Their eyebrows rise. All right. Come with me then. If there's one thing you should know about their majesties, is that they don't like to be kept waiting. Slowly and thickly, I follow them. So we're finally going to see them. I don't remember the journey, really. Down some halls, past a few guards, then I face ornate double doors. And then I'm ushered into a splendid room with high ceilings. The memory I won't be able to soon forget are those that sit before me upon their gilded thrones. Ambassador? King Thaddeus gestures to his space before them, the space where a figure kneels before him and his queen, her head dutifully bowed. Queen Adora's smile is biting, wicked in a way that makes my skin crawl. Just a word that falls from her lips that really chills me. Kneel. And that's it. Okay, friend. Back before. Because we don't have the next chapter, I'm going to save at the end of this one. And then once the rest of the chapters are released, then I will replace the save with the beginning of the next chapter. And just admire the artwork here, the character design. You notice that her crown and necklace and the clasps, I guess, all have the moon motif, and even the back of her throne. And he has the sun up here and on his clasps and his necklace. And, well, okay. Oh, I see. The decoration on the throne is a combination of the sun and moon, which you met before. And if you look back here, you have something similar going. And then his belt also kind of has the sun motif going as well. So that's as much of the ambassador route that has been released. It's going to take us back to the title page. I didn't realize it would be that short. Okay, so that's it for today. But yes, next week we will continue with Night Chapter 5. That one will, they are romancing Eric, and we will also have the opportunity to turn it into a poly romance with Masha, which we will absolutely be taking. I feel kind of bad that I haven't taken either of the poly routes or When the Night Comes, even though they're there, at least in my playthroughs that I've live streamed. My private playthroughs, I absolutely have. And then the week after that will be the Nomad route, Chapter 5, in which they're romancing Livia. I will hopefully be back Sunday with the next chapter, the When the Night Comes revamp. That will be Chapter 7. The aftermath of their fight, the hunters' fight against the creature. But for now, that's it. I hope you have a great rest of the day, a great rest of the week, and I'll see you next time. Make sure to do it this way. So take care, everyone.